I wish I'd known about this chart sooner, because this chart tells me that in just 14 days time, Bitcoin and the altcoins are set to have a strong recovery back towards the upside. Not only that, but by understanding this chart, we will know exactly when to take profits, when to buy into the dips, and when the bull market is most likely to finish. So if you want to be able to predict ahead of time exactly what is going to be happening in crypto and not have to worry about what's happening in the news, then hit the like button. Let's get into today's video. Now, right now, the crypto markets are full of fear, and quite rightly, because the Bitcoin price has headed down to $80,000 again. But the level of fear is so much more intense than normal. And there's one major reason for it. It's because the idea in our mind about what drives these crypto markets is now being disproven. We previously thought that it was the news that indicated the move in the crypto markets, but with positive news coming out of the White House on a weekly basis about crypto, we've just seen the crypto prices moving lower and lower, leading many people out there to think that there is no chance that they can be saved, that Donald Trump can't help pump their bags, and there is no idea what can. Well, the good news is that while Donald Trump might have short-term statements that move the markets, really there is a fundamental driver behind these crypto markets, and I've found it. What is it? Well, it's the Global Liquidity Index, but not in a way that you've probably looked at it before, because up until now, yes, I knew that the Global Liquidity Index was moving the markets, but I didn't know how damn accurately it was if you applied the right filters. So what we're going to do is jump across to tradingview.com, and I'm going to teach you how to put this on your chart, because then you're going to be able to have a crystal ball pretty much about what's going to happen ahead of time in these markets. Simply go to a weekly chart on Bitcoin by clicking the W and then search for M2 Global. Come down to the third one here with currently 310 downloads, and it's going to add this black line to your chart. Now, if you've ever tried to compare the Global Liquidity Index to the Bitcoin price, then you've probably found it's quite difficult to see the correlation. Yes, there seems to have been a general uptrend from previous lows, but it doesn't really kind of coincide with the price, at least not that accurately. And there's a major reason for it, and this is it. The liquidity front runs the crypto prices by 10 weeks. And this blew my mind. If you go to this index here and you click on this cog, then, bearing in mind this is a weekly chart, we need to add 10 to this time offset. This is going to move the liquidity index forward 10 weeks. If you want to do this on a daily chart, you can use 70, obviously 70 days in 10 weeks. And if you're paying attention, you're probably already starting to see it. Because if you look, the recent top we saw for Bitcoin and the altcoins that came in around the 9th of December is perfectly indicated here. But if we turn off the filter that moves it forward 10 days, then you would have been able to predict on the 30th of September that 70 days later, the Bitcoin price would top. And I'm not even joking. If you then put this filter back on, we're going to be able to see just how accurate this is in predicting the moves of the Bitcoin price. Because look, since this bull market began for Bitcoin, which happened around the start of 2023, maybe you could say it happened off the end of the FTX crisis, you can see all of the major turnarounds in the Bitcoin price, okay? Before we start to see major moves up, we have a correction, major move up, correction, major move up. And look, if you take a vertical line from these major changes in direction, then you will see just how accurately this is reflected in the Bitcoin price, okay? Now I'm going to put a line here on the 24th of March, and that's going to become very clear in just a moment why I've done that. Now look, guys, this here is the first move that we saw when Bitcoin suddenly decided to move towards the upside. And it's so accurate because this dip here, you can see, is on 1 week here, the 9th of January. That week, Bitcoin goes up approximately 34%. We come to the next one here. You can see that Bitcoin had been kind of going sideways, up and down a bit. Suddenly we get a push towards the upside in the liquidity index. Bitcoin in that week goes up 11%. After that, it continues up 93%. And then look, this signal here shows that you get a big sell-off, And this would have been a great time to take profits, as I'm sure you're aware, because from there, a lot of the altcoins and everything bled towards the downside. And remember, because this is 10 weeks ahead of time, then we just get kind of sideways action here. We never get a clear signal that the price is moving up strongly. Even here, we get kind of a weak kind of move, nothing particularly strong. And now, as we look at the charts here, you can see that the move that happened yesterday simply happened because the liquidity from that previous week to that week dropped a lot. Okay, then we can see that this week it's going to pick up a bit. We have a chance that we're going to see a green week here, maybe nothing significant, maybe nothing particularly exciting, potentially another little slip down into the 24th of March, and then big push up. And as we see this chart right now, it's going up almost in a vertical direction. So what can we see that is starting to drive this in a vertical direction? And this is very important because this is the 19th of May. This liquidity is being indicated in the markets right now because of what is being shown in the news. And I don't mean the Trump news or anything else, but news like this. China is starting to recapitalize its bank with $55 billion. We also heard last week China had other plans to stimulate its economy with another $179 billion towards various different companies based around tech. China is now aggressively stimulating its economy. Why is China stimulating its economy? Well, because of things like this. China has just slumped into deflation again with a negative CPI reading. Okay, it shows inflation is going down in China, which means that China now has the ability to print money as well. It's also got the ability to print money because of something else major that's happening, and that is a drop in the dollar index, the DXY. Now, interestingly, if you apply the global liquidity index chart that I've been showing you to this DXY chart, then you can see that every time the DXY is going up, we see the liquidity coming down. Everyone really needs to stimulate their economy right now, and they can't do it until the dollar weakens. The good news, Donald Trump has already said that the dollar is too strong, and he's trying to weaken the dollar for the benefit of his own country, but also the relationship with other countries out there. The more the dollar continues to tank down, the more the liquidity index goes up, the more Bitcoin and crypto goes up. So for everyone who's out there right now, who's saying, well, Bitcoin and crypto can't go up until we have interest rate cuts from the Fed, this is wrong. Interest rate cuts from the Fed will obviously add money to the global markets and ultimately make a more risk-on environment. But the fundamental driver isn't just the US. It's everyone else's reaction to the US, the global liquidity index. Hopefully this is useful for you. And I think the best thing for you to do is to go and add this to your TradingView charts and just look at how closely the highs and the lows line up. Because if you use these highs as your indicators, it's going to be a great time to know when to take profits. And remember, this is ahead of time, which gives us a fantastic opportunity because it tells us that right now we're moving up higher. I don't know when this is going to stop moving up higher for whatever reason, but let's say it continues to rally sometime into June and it has a strong correction like this, then that tells us, because by that point, the prices are only going to be here because it's 10 weeks ahead, you can say, well, on this date, I'm going to start to take profits. Now, if you add this to a daily chart, okay, it is still pretty damn accurate, okay, but not necessarily, should I be wanting to try and day trade with this? So predicting, maybe the move in liquidity that's happening today versus the next day might not be so clear, okay, because you can see the liquidity starts to move up quite aggressively from the 8th of September, but it kind of lags a little bit there, or it takes a little while to get running. Now, I don't think necessarily that from this particular spike that Bitcoin has to suddenly rip up, because it's going to take a little bit of time before confidence is returning into the markets. But as you always know, the fear in the markets, when the fear is at its height, is the best time to buy, because little Timmy and everyone else who's been panic selling, they're out the markets. They're still down below in the comments saying that this bull market's finished and this guy's just chatting BS. Okay, this bull market is by no means finished because that liquidity index will continue to pump towards the end of the year. And this is a chart from Referral where the black line is the DXY, or the dollar index, from back in 2016, the last time Donald Trump was the president. Donald Trump is now in as president again. One of the first things he said as he rolled into office was the dollar is too strong. He has the same plan to weaken the dollar once more, and it's going to run until early 2026, by which point hopefully we've been able to make some good gains because we've been buying and selling the dips by using this forward-looking indicator. So once we get around to the 24th of March and we start to see the liquidity ticking up again, what can we expect to see across the crypto markets? Well, obviously, it's reflected first in the Bitcoin price. We will see the market starting to react positively, particularly the larger cap coins. Why? Because those larger cap coins are driven by market makers on the exchanges. A lot of the smaller cap coins might take a little while to warm up because remember, you need the confidence to return in the markets. And when it does, the smaller cap altcoins are where people will start to flood. Smaller cap altcoins is where people go during a confident market. So ahead of time, we can start to see where the confidence can be returning. Also, after we get these peaks, in the liquidity, typically you might see the Bitcoin price and other large caps cooling off. At the same time, you might still start to see smaller cap altcoins continuing towards the upside. That is simply because the smaller cap altcoins, again, are driven by the retail investors who around this time are continuing to buy aggressively into the market and push those coins higher. Okay, so this is why often many people end up getting caught in the smaller cap altcoins, possibly a little bit too late. Now, if you got this far through the video and you enjoyed what we've been talking about, make sure you hit that subscribe button, notification bell turned on, because throughout this bull market, I'm going to be hacking the system to find out exactly what is going on in these markets ahead of time. As I said, I wish I'd known about this sooner because maybe we could have taken more profits more aggressively back in December. We talked a little bit about taking profits, but not a full exit, which possibly was the better move. Difficult to tell without this model in front of us. But going ahead, we should be able to read the markets much more accurately. Also, I talked about this in far more detail over the weekend, as well as different altcoins that I've been buying into and altcoins that I think are going to outperform in the earlier stages of the bull market once it starts to get going again over in the Moon House. We have a weekly Zoom call, and as well, there's a bunch of experts, including myself, who are active there every day, answering different questions on different coins to buy, different questions on what's going on in the markets, etc. So if you want someone to hold your hand through this bull market ahead of us, and there is very much going to be a bull market because of what I've just shown you, then make sure you go and join the Moon House. It's linked down below in the description. Now guys, thanks so much for watching. We've got a couple of weeks, quiet weeks ahead of us. I'm personally right now trying to build bags as big as possible ready for the next leg up, which is coming very, very soon. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe, and I'll see you later on this week in another video. Bye-bye.